big restaurant is like a big puzzle. Inside, there are different teams. One group grills steaks, another cooks seafood, and a third bakes desserts. Everyone works separately, and the manager has to keep it all running smoothly. It's not easy. Sometimes things go missing. Plates, food, tools, you name it. This story begins with something missing. Year 1969. Meet George, an elevator repair guy. He worked with a team that fixed elevators for fancy hotels and restaurants. One summer, he was sent to a New York restaurant where the elevator just wouldn't behave. After a few failed repairs, the team decided to completely rebuild it, a job that would take 3 months. They worked at night since the restaurant was busy during the day. But working in an empty building at night? That's when things got weird. 2 weeks into the job, the restaurant manager called George's team for a meeting. He wasn't happy. The manager sipped his tea and said in a sharp tone, "You all are hardworking, I'm sure. But stealing food? That's crossing the line." "What?" the team leader exclaimed. "Who's stealing? What's missing?" The manager frowned. For the past week, steamed buns from the kitchen keep disappearing. Sometimes the whole plate. These plates are custom-made. Losing them is a big deal. The repair team was furious. "We didn't steal anything," they argued. "Besides, doesn't the kitchen have night staff? Ask them who's sneaking snacks." Despite their protests, the restaurant fined the team. Angry but determined, they vowed to stay far away from the kitchen to prove their innocence. But the buns kept disappearing, along with the plates. Even when the repair crew avoided the kitchen, the snacks and dishes still vanished. George and his team were frustrated but had no answers. Eventually, their work ended, and they left the restaurant. Time passed, and the mystery faded. Years later, one day, George was back in the area and decided to visit the restaurant. But something was off. The place used to be packed with diners. Now it was nearly empty. Curious, George asked the server, "Why is it so quiet?" The server hesitated before whispering, "People say the place is haunted. Business hasn't been the same since." "Haunted?" George's eyes lit up. "What happened?" The server shook their head, unwilling to share more. That afternoon, George stayed for a meal. While eating, an elderly flower seller walked in, carrying a basket of orchids. George recognized her instantly. She used to sell flowers outside the restaurant when he worked there. "Hey, remember me?" George waved. The woman squinted before breaking into a smile. "Of course. You're the young repair guy from back then." They chatted for a while, catching up on old times. Eventually, George brought up the haunted rumors. The woman's smile faded. "That was a few years ago," the old woman began to recall. "I remember your construction team came to repair the elevator. In fact, something happened here 2 years before that." Then the woman shared a chilling tale. Years ago, Felix, a poor boy from the neighborhood, worked as a temp in the kitchen. He often snuck bites of food because he was always hungry. One night, thinking no one was around, he went to grab some buns. But the head chef was sleeping nearby and woke up. Startled, Felix ran, but straight toward the elevator shaft. The door was open because of repairs. Felix fell, landing on sharp steel beams below. He died instantly. The restaurant paid off his gambler father, and the incident was quickly forgotten. But after that, strange things began happening. Employees started seeing a shadow, the woman whispered. A boy in a white uniform, wandering between the kitchen and the elevator. Plates and food kept disappearing. One time, the elevator wouldn't go to the ground floor. When they opened the shaft to check, guess what they found? "What?" George asked, holding his breath. Hundreds of broken plates, all the ones that had gone missing over the years. And the food? Scattered at the bottom. "Have you seen Felix?" George asked. The woman nodded solemnly. "One night, I was outside picking up my basket. Through the window, I saw him. A pale figure, floating near the kitchen. It was Felix. I'm sure of it." George felt a chill down his spine. Whether he believed it or not, he couldn't deny the eerie feeling the story left behind. As he finished his meal and stepped outside, George glanced back at the restaurant one last time. Some mysteries, he thought, are better left unsolved.